launch is always the difficult one. Or the last one. I want to go home because I have a 9-hour trip before me, because I want to go with the TGV from Germany, coming to here for $50 first class from Stuttgart in 3 hours. But then they say, okay, it will not run. So I have to have a car. It takes me 7 hours to the place 20 kilometers to Paris, and the rest one, I do not say it. It was 10 hours if I reached the hotel. So therefore, I want to start a little bit. My name is Brender. I am a Microsoft MVP since 7 years. And I want to talk about this session. I also have given it European SharePoint conference in Prague. So that was interesting because this title has to be submitted, not here, submitted very early at February. And for all these people who has looked for content during Ignite, the words intelligent is more and more often in there. But I have it done in January, and there was not implemented. So we have to say thank you, sponsors, because the sponsors, such an event is not making possible. So I've spoken this year. That's my last event, my last session for this year, for the last decade. I have spoken 18 conferences, going to Hong Kong for Microsoft Ignite Tours. I was in Paris also Ignite Tours. I was at Ignite, have given 2 stages. That was very interesting because that was a theater session, and 250 people are in there, and that means, yes, you have only 250. And I saw the counter. Counter is high. 250, 350, 500, 750, 960. I have no idea where they come. But you have a lot of no-show rate, and therefore, yes, you have to say you can go it. It was 350 or something. I don't have to count it. It was very interesting about group policies. But here we are in the modern workplace. That's my data. You find them collected. All the data are there. I'm an open. Hopefully I will get no spam, but you can talk me to anything about OneDrive. So the first one is, these symbols. If you have a notification error, you find it the little one, not so big. But you see these blue are different. So you have to know, hey, what is what? And yes, the right one, the white one, it's not so often seen in companies because people do not have control about that. That's a next generation sync client. That's OneDrive exe for your personal account. And the other one, we have to look in the middle. This dark blue, that was the original one, was Groove. If you have a server on premises before 2019, you have still this to sync your data. And the left one, they take it a little bit lighter in blue. There's the next generation sync client. You can have it with your on-prem version, SharePoint Server 2019 only, or with the cloud, you can have this one. So that is a much more important. Then Microsoft changed the rules. They have new buttons, new symbols for all the programs, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on, and also for the next generation sync client. So now you can see it's a little bit more different, the blue and the blue one and the gray one. So that's the same. That's at the beginning. OneDrive, you can have a lot of symbols. That means, yes, you can have a lot of connections, and you see, because we can done, what's happened with OneDrive. But first we have to know what's in there. That means SharePoint is a storage for the documents. We spoke always on this talk about devices, and that means, yes, you have a lot of document libraries, and that means, hey, do they fit in my device? So that means, yes, you can have as an expansion of your local storage. So therefore, if you go on, you can have that. But we have to look about that. Microsoft is developing lots and lots. And during the keynote of ESA, it was airy. OneDrive was for free for a lot of space, and then they're collected together. So in OneDrive for Business, you have 1 terabyte for each user. That means that's a lot. You can have it up to 5 terabyte. But with 5 terabyte, we are not able to synchronize all this stuff. Hey, I have only a small device. It fits in my handbag. So therefore, it is possible? Yes, it is. So we will see that is also possible if you're OneDrive for Business, that's business talk. And it's not like Dropbox, Box, or any other cloud storage. Just remember, this time I always get a message, hey, can I sync it with my new letter with drive X, Y, Z, which number you ever have? No, you should not do that. WebDAV is dead. WebDAV does not make any functionality with next generation sync client, the OneDrive XE. So think about the SharePoint and make a different approach. That means, yes, that's a SharePoint house. If you have more houses beside them, you have a SharePoint farm. And that's the same methodology that Microsoft is using. So you see that's a SharePoint farm, and you can see in this house, you can up and down. That's for the administrator or the facility manager. He can go in, but not into the rooms. He has no rights. So in the rooms, I only make 4. You have the document libraries in there. That means, and in the upper corner, you have different sites. That's the smallest room. That's for each user in your company, your OneDrive for Business. That's completely the SharePoint. That means you have some possibilities with this OneDrive for Business. You can share information to other people, but you have to know. You should not share it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in your company from your OneDrive for Business. Why? If you have some information, that's okay. But if you leave, or I leave, I share it with you. If I leave the company, these informations are gone. Because you have to look for enterprise companies. Enterprise, 50 people come, 50 people go each month. Sometimes the laptop is gone, you have to delete that, you have to do new ones. Nobody can restore 5 terabyte of data. That's a lot of questions. What is important, what's not important. So you have to decide what's inside your OneDrive for Business and what's on the other groups or document libraries in group marketing or several things. So yeah, there is a member there, then you have a key. You can go into this room. That's a document library. One is responsible. And on the other side, you have other members, they're in there. If we take this information later on, you can move it from your OneDrive for Business with 2 or 3 people I've shared. Then I can leave because the groups still exist. The only one you have to replace is the yellow one. But the other people that also have access to that, what I have stored in there. So you can have it here, and it's also the possibility to share all this information. But we have to look a little bit more. Means, what about to sync? If you say, hey, it's easy. You have it with it and have one, I will show you that could be complicated, very complicated. So we started with OneDrive Personal, then we go to OneDrive for Business, then we go to Share with Me, have some document libraries to see, have some synchronized with more than one tenant. As a consultant, you will have that. And then the end is business to business sync. So that's a combination we have. OneDrive Personal. Sometimes people have to say, the administrators have to say, hey, I do not want it. Because they have no control about your OneDrive for Business. You have some information, you have also a history of the files in there, up to level 30, that's done, not more. But the problem about is that if you leave the company, you take your personal OneDrive with you. Therefore, it could be a little bit terrible. And several administrators says, now you have all the functionality to make pictures and so on with different devices. We do not need it. But the next generation sync client syncs with all the stuff. Means your personal. So now we have a tenant in Office 365. And that means, yes, now we can sync. The first thing you got is OneDrive for Business. You can automate this if you come to the company, onboarding process, still there. You don't have to do that manually. Talk to the administrators. Modern workplace begins with the instruction there. There is one group policy that make it automatically. Give the credentials and have it. We will see that's also possible to have it with other libraries. That is also a crew policy. If I'm a marketing guy, come new to the company, yes, I still will have, after first credentials, and have a tour to the company, then it will establish OneDrive for Business and a direct connection to the marketing. Perfect. If I come back to the machine, all things are done. That means for SharePoint or OneDrive for Business in the beta, it's one thing. I can share it with you. If I take a folder, you can sync it on your machine. That's perfect. I will show it in the demo later on. Means from my OneDrive for Business, you have to share, if only one file, you have to pack it in a folder and share the folder. Then the other person on the other side can sync it on their machine. So I have the version on my machine. I have it in the cloud automatically in my OneDrive for Business, and you have it on your machine. That's interesting. If I delete a file, what happened? Shared with me. The other thing is it looks like here, and you see this stuff, that you have information. That's here Julian Versuch, and he shared with me these 3 things, and that's okay. That is the name of the library he changed with me. The other one are only documents inside my tenant name. You see a little bit more that comes in the next slide. That's another company comes in. But do you see that? Okay, that's one side, one library. You can have a lot of files if you are a member of that. You can also synchronize these data. In the team sites, that's document libraries, document libraries, document libraries, wherever the document libraries resist on your system. Yes, I use Teams. Yes. Teams is different. It takes 2 different ones. One is in OneDrive for Business, and the other one is a normal document library. You can press a button. You will have it if you have a tenant. It's not there. You will have a button in the new future that say, okay, I can have it without jumping to the SharePoint server and press the synchronize button there. So we have all these document libraries. Now with one tenant all together. But now I have a second one. A second library means we can have the second library and the second tenant also in there. So working for 2 companies is not complicated. You don't need the office and all the software of them, but you have 2 companies. So sometimes it could be very interesting. I was on a bank in Hamburg and they say, oh, stop, we have to call our lead. The lead comes in and he sees in 5 minutes to declare what's happened there. He knows, hey, that's the right thing we have to use. This bank is ordering their derivatives and all these things on the Börse in Frankfurt and on the Wall Street. But the rules they have accomplished has to be, say, one of them, it's coming in Germany, they have to use tenant A in this example, and the US have to do it in tenant B. So therefore, there are different storages. Tenant B was established in US, and tenant E was in Europe. So therefore, the rules for the company, for this bank was okay. That's a little bit difficult, but you have to see if you move data between one and one, it's a copy, but we will show it later on. And then, what's come up with business-to-business synchronization? Business-to-business synchronization is, I say, the more complicated thing, but it's easy. Thinking about a tenant, and you have several things shared with me, OneDrive for Business, you see it although several customer libraries, document libraries. And then I have to say, hey, I'm working for marketing, but outside we have a marketing agency with 10 people. And there would I have all the access. And I can say, yes, send me your email addresses. But we have to know this marketing agency has also an Office 365. Means, therefore in red, tenant marketing, they have Office 365. You send me the messages, I'm a tenant admin or a guest inviter admin. That means you have 2 possibilities. And I have to have it in a right direction in an Excel file. Take this Excel file and start a PowerShell script, which will automatically done in Active Directory as external users. And you and the other 10 persons got a mail with my photo in there, with a description, hey, I'm you, you don't have to extract. There is a partnership now between the customer and the tenant marketing. That means you do not have to have more credentials. Your credentials in tenant marketing, you have, that's all. So now you see you have one click and it opens this document library we have here, this document library. You can also have it in different ways, but this is the document library. We have control, but these people are able to see that. Means clicking on the button and you have all of them in your tenant. It will sync all the data what's in there. Automatically means if I or my people at the marketing agency changing some files in this one, it automatically will come to this tenant marketing and is also in the cloud. You have the name in the Explorer and we see that also in the demo. So back to the roots. For the free storage, you have to go back. At the beginning, it was 10 gigabyte plus 500 megabyte per user. That's the free storage of your SharePoint online. Then they started in 2016 with 1 terabyte. And in 2018, they got 1 terabyte plus 10 gigabyte, that's 25% more free storage. You can have, if you want, any storage because you can have to pay for them. Therefore, it's a little bit different. Sometimes the user wants to show, hey, I have to go to OneDrive for Business. That's not the right way. So seeing that, and after the action in April, 2 months later, they say, hey, each library you want to establish, a new document library, will be automatically has history function. Sometimes people came to me and say, hey, why do you need history? I want to disable that. Why? You should have that because that's for the users. That's also the possibility, and we will have that. Means, on the right side you see the SharePoint. The red one is the newest file. If you save it from another person, open it and save it again, it takes a new version. So you have several versions, and you can have a lot of versions, it depends. Your Windows Explorer only has the latest version, so that's a different. Windows is 2D, SharePoint has 3D functionality. So that means, hey, we look for them, what's in there. History function means I have an Excel file now with 1,500 versions. I don't have a limit there. I'm a system admin. That is also a possibility. So in the morning, I have to make some blood pressures and take it also in the list iron and save a graphics and so on. Therefore, I have so many versions. Means inside with Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, you have the possibility to see all these versions. You can describe it. That's one click, showing later on in the demo. So that means, what's the acceleration? An acceleration means what we have in there. That means the first thing is we have the acceleration in our products. In Microsoft's products, if you press the share button, if you have the newest version, if you press the share button, you got the sharing information. That means, yes, we see all the stuff. It comes up. Yesterday was a talk with Sarah Barbosa, and their talk about 1 hour about all this sharing stuff. But anyway, if it's there, you can work with them out of the application. You do not have to leave the application. You can have it inside the application, or you can also have it outside the application. In the Explorer, in your device, what you have in your Android or iPhone device. Perfect. You can set some password. Password? Yes, sometimes. They show it not yesterday, therefore I tell this one. Means I want to share with you, and I will do and set an exceptional password. I call it MFA for Dummies. Because you do not have an IT, I want to say it, I save a password. Means if the document is shared with here and said, okay, we implement that, take the password, apply, send it a file to you, the link, not the file. Send the link to you and say, okay, you have to open. You got this information. Oh, this market segment, I'm coming from the marketing, is not opened, you have to need a password. So normally I call it to you and say, hey, the password is Modern Workplace 2019, whatever. Then you can open it. But you don't have to say it if you have an anonymous link. Normally, without a password, any person who got the link can open the document. But if you do it with a call or something else on a different way, you have a password for that. That will work also not here in OneDrive for Business. So remembering, that's the special one. If we see that, people are saying, hey, OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, that's my OneDrive. No, it's not your OneDrive. It's OneDrive for Business. If you see all the libraries here, it's the libraries we have on the system. Therefore, you can also set and say, I want to share information. Done. The same thing you want to have. And the same possibilities, that's the old pictures. You see it like the symbols, because we have some symbols. I have to replace it also. Means that's a dark blue. So that means, hey, that's the old one. But you see there's all the possible share information right on the mouse, right click, and then say share, you have the same information. It's always the same in Android and also in iPhone. Means we have now true possibilities. And you have some dependencies. The dependencies is only for you if you know. Your users don't know that. They don't have any questions. They have to ask you. It's not only the OneDrive Excel called Next Generation Sync Client. It's also Windows 10 in the Explorer. It's also in Office. So you have to know that several things came up and talk to SharePoint. So therefore, it's important to do that. So we have done that in dark mode and so on. So the save, delete, rename, and transport sync the organization is done to the next generation sync client. You always have the latest version. It depends in what ring system your clients are. The administrator can say which is the normal one, means the normal people have the production ring. But if you have some sites that have less or bad internet, you can also say to them, okay, this site and the members inside the sites should be on the enterprise ring. Mean only 6 versions a year. Production, a lot more. And if you are insider and the people who make change management and all the stuff, they are going to the insider. That means, hey, each week, or let's say each 14 days. Last week we have a little bit problems with Microsoft. This accident still exists. So you have it and 4 versions each day, a new version. The client is going into that once a day and looked about that. Oh, there's a new version for me. If you have 2 devices, it could be that one device will change it, the other not. Microsoft will not have that all people want to download. It's only 42 megabytes. That's the download exit, the setup. And if it's there, he will set up called another 270 megabytes. That's all languages, including French, Spanish, and all this stuff. The newest features were implemented, installed, and implemented. Right, done. It takes in a new machine a few seconds, but you have to know that. Microsoft cannot control, or they do not want to control that. Why? The problem is, on the servers, Microsoft has the right hand. We saw it today. We have to say each day, each thing came now functionality. But sometimes you have a client. The sync client is there. And if it's too old, because the Microsoft administrators have to say, I have no time. I have to do it later. So then it comes out of control. And that means it's not in the same sync stadium. So never some features need to be. Therefore, they need all of these versions. 6 versions a year, let's say. So therefore, they control it automatically and nobody can help that. That's the only thing. So sharing of the features, you see it's although the reading the existing rights, presented, write the new rights, and though there's also some invisible metadata. Often I want to talk, hey, Will Microsoft come with new versions, with new metadata? We have it to manually, but we have to see what Microsoft is going on. They are concentrating with Project Cortex to make it automatically. I've seen a completely script Word, completely new Word with 4 pages, and they're built automatically with machine learning, this stuff together and have the metadata. Nobody has to use and write metadata anymore. Therefore, yes, we have some invisible metadata, but we don't need that. And Windows Explorer, I call it, is a presentation layer. You know, you have some files that are okay for Windows 10. But on the other hand, the data are there, you can synchronize. So we have left documents, we have left our pictures, and the last folder, they called it known folder, is your desktop. So you can have implemented document KFM, known folder move. Forget this sentence. They will see it on the description with docs.microsoft.com. You have to go downstairs and you have to push the button with OneDrive, and there is all the descriptions what they can do with non-folder move. That means this move is not that they move the data. They move the data from these known folders into your OneDrive. It will be then in the cloud in OneDrive for Business. Hey, that's cool. Therefore, they call it, it's like a backup. And therefore, I call it this known folder to PC backup. You will see it in the future. Yeah? That's a new name, because it's not only the move, it's also the sync. If your device is going wrong, if your hard disk is going lost, or you have stolen your PC, it's no longer the thing. You get a new PC, give in the password, and all these functionality will come again. Although these folders with documents, with pictures, and the desktop. So they mean, yes, therefore in Windows Explorer, there's also the presentation layer of the latest version about that. And you see, that's SharePoint documents, including OneDrive for Business, and including these 3 folders I mentioned about 2 minutes before. So data will be transferred with the sync client, with deleting, renaming, and moving. So if you move your data, Control X, Control V, inside the same site collection, users do not know that. Press a button, look for the folder, Control X, go inside, next one, Control V. That means it will be deleted on the first one and will be also to the new thing where you have the mouse pointed to. But on a server, they move the data also. You have the completely history of all the data with you. Therefore, you should look for that. This function is not well, let's say, performing. If you take a folder with hundreds and thousands of files and you want to take it there, it's a little bit problem. Therefore, you have to look for that. So that means Office integration means you need also the Office to write, save, rename, and share, and process the smart metadata that's in there. You can have it here automatically. So thinking about 2 tenants, it's not so easy to see, hey, there are 2 different tenants in there, and sometimes you have to read what's in there. So people have to know that. You should not do it for each person if you have such a device. So although to share information we have here, and sometimes you also see that you have the history, and I will show you that in a few seconds, saved to the cloud. So sometimes, yes, it's a function that Microsoft installed it and say, hey, you should save the information in the cloud and not send the file in there. So sometimes it's a little bit special because it depends on the version of security they have it or have it installed. So sometimes you have to know about that, what they are doing. And people outside your organization do not know what they are doing. So sometimes, hey, I need a password. Yesterday I have a file, not yesterday, 3 days before I came to this conference. I have that, but I have not, it will not open. It needs a password. And I say, hey, how do you open that? Yeah, with this function, he has the password and the name of another user and it was not on Office 365. Therefore, you have a new password. But it came only two, and they have only two email function, and therefore it was a wrong one. He never gets a password, so we cannot open that. I have to resend the document over the information. And resend means intelligent processing of documents, and that we will show. So now we're going live and see what's happened. First one, you see that also in the file. If you click here, you feel the file name. That's also available in all Office applications, with the exception of Outlook. That means, yes, you can rename without leaving the slot. And you see also version history. Clicking on that, we will see what's happened with this file. You see, that's a location. That's in my OneDrive with the company name, in documents, and so on. So looking at there, you see there are several versions. It opens, and you can also have it together, two files together to see. So therefore, you can good and handle that. If version history is not installed, you will not handle this stuff. So you can go back to the version I have done at a formerly time on December 03, for example. That's an easy part. I do not want to do that here with this one, but I want to show it what happened here. So in my thing, I only have a black one, means if I open the Explorer, you see all the data. The first one I have to say, hey, I do not have here version KFM known folder move installed. The reason is I have different machines. And I do not want to have all the same data on all machines. You have KFM with two machines, normally outside. So I have to tell them, yeah, they want to have the same thing. Mean this machine is except the same with here. That's a desktop, that's a laptop. I take it with me on journeys and so on. I have absolutely right information. So KFN duplicates not, it has one, but for the first time, if you have a different desktop files, and it says, okay, they want to merge together, so I have it on both machines. That I do not want to have, and although I want to be not able to show you what I want to show it here. So I will start with one. I will also say that's a company name of one. Here I have only one. So that means that's OneDrive for Business with the company Bright Skies, and that's a OneDrive for Business here, and then I have OneDrive Personal. Even if you have more than OneDrive Personal, it's all available. You can have a lot of things. I determined for sports, I have another one that is also available, but you can always sync only one on one machine. So the first thing I want to show you is I want to show with a small Word file, I take a new document. We have to do it and say document A. And we save it also. That means, okay, I want to save, and I want to save it not. I want to have to save more information. I want to have it in a different location. So I browse through all the data and say now I want to do it here on the desktop. And I call it document A.x. Done. It is not synchronizing, so we have nothing done here. Means I leave the document, and you see it on the desktop in a few seconds. It's document A. Later on, maybe tomorrow or some, I will demonstrate it. Now I rename this document because I want to have it here inside the system, not edit, sorry, I do not want it. I want to rename it. Let's say to document B. Okay? So now you know when you open your Word, you got a recent list. Document A. The system cannot say and look inside your complete system that nothing has changed. What this will become if we get and click on A.x. It's not synchronized, and you see you will get an error because it says something is changed or renamed. That's a normal behavior. But if we synchronize all this stuff, it's different. Means I do open a new document, and now say document C, but I save it now in a synced library. Which library? We have to look for that. Means we browse to this position. You know that. You can have it in different things, but I want to do it in my OneDrive for Business, this one, and you see it, document C. There is no document C, so I can save it. I have to wait a second because it's syncing now. Means it's synced to the cloud. So if we have done that, means we left Outlook, we left Word. That's the same thing. You don't see it here. We have to open that and going to this position where we have saved it. And that means here, document C. It's still syncing and is now synced. Sometimes you have a big document, it changed a little bit. And if you have big document, during Ignite, Microsoft says, hey, we want to open it a little bit more for big files. Not only 15 gig, we have it in the past, not 50, 100 gigabyte per file. It takes a little bit. It depends on your upload speed. So now we change here the name, as we have done it also. But we have to look. Rename and make it to document CD. That's also renaming functionality, and it takes a little bit time. You see it on the synchronizing thing. Normally you do not do that in this way. We can forget it, but now we have to wait. We start again, Word. That's the same thing I want to show, the recent list of C. And if you now, that's the intelligence they want to have. If you say, okay, I want to have this file open, and it's not anything, he changed it automatically. You see in the upper line, there is also open it to document D. Why is it able? Why can he do it? The DLL is looking into the cloud because he knows it is in the cloud. And he looks about and he sees in the history. History is searchable, so also they have to look into the graph automatically and say, hey, that's the new version has D and not only more C. So therefore they open it and you will not have an error. But thinking what will happen if we say only one machine we have and we have it here, this document D, and we want to say, okay, I want to select this and press Shift, stand by, Shift Delete. You see, he says, are you sure you want permanently delete the file? Normally you press Delete. That means the function is going and press or move the data, the document D, into the recycle bin. On the other hand, the command is also going into the cloud. And in cloud, it will all be deleted. There is also a recycle bin. The complete history stuff and all these things will be there for 90 days. If you take 95, and it's more important, call to Microsoft, they are all available to 14 days more. But not for you, only you have to say if you have a problem, an urgent problem. So the problem here is if you press the delete function, it's not anymore there. You have to look. But first I have to ask you, where is the information? Is there restorable? Here, with this function, if I press yes, no. Because you have no functionality, you think. And if you only press delete, it will in the recycle bin and also in the recycle bin of the server. So now we have two possibilities to restore if you want to have it. Which one should I use? The client machine, the Windows 10, or the server? Going to the server, looking in the recycle bin, take the function and press restore. What's the better thing? It's small, it's absolutely small. The function is, I said, Here's only the representation layer about the latest function. So you will have a new file generated, only with this version. If you go to your SharePoint and say, hey, I want to restore it there, you will have the complete stuff of all the files with the complete history and metadata in there. So you should always go to there. That's not implemented. But I want to do it with delete, and that's not normal. That means, okay, it's no longer there. It's also in the server. Yeah? If you have other machines with you, where this file is also synchronized, the shift button is only on this machine, not on the other machine. On the other machine, it's still in the recycle bin. So now, on this machine, I have only one machine. It's not open here. Can I do that? Yes, we want to do that. We open Word, and now the intelligence comes up. Hey, there is still document C. Maybe it will work. We have to look. So the problem was I do not have it loaded with one time with D because we have renamed it. If I have the function renamed and after that delete, it will be opened. The call will go to the SharePoint, it looks into the server, and then you got a message with a yellow line, you should rename this stuff or new file or not restore. So I say to Thomas Sharin at Microsoft and I have to say, hey, you should change that because it's only a new file. I want to replace it because it's done. That means here, wrong demonstration, my mistake, sorry about that. But if you have it in the right direction, if you have deleted, it will be also going into the cloud. Yes, you have to have internet. Without an internet, the function will not go. That's all normally. So that's the history we have in all these files. Means, yes, you can have this stuff. And normally it's also available what will happen before and what then will happen in the end. So the people has not known that, but normally they make, oh, I have renamed. I have to go and look for the other file name. But now the new data will be open. That's normal, simple things that will come up. And I will show you also the functionality of this file I have also done with a different version. So you see 1,540 versions. So that's a little bit more data in there. That the first three bars are the blood pressure. That's 1,123 days non-smoking anymore. So therefore you have, and then the other one, the red one, that's the data of my weight. So therefore I have to control that. Red goes up. So I have different thing, and therefore if I press here the button and say I want to history with that, that means you have all this stuff where I have to read their version, and it takes a little bit because now you have all the versions in there. And it doesn't count. You only things in the loop. You can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, but all these versions are there. Perfect. Sometimes the smaller things will go, and let's say Microsoft will work on that you have people that only want to have the desktop version will also work with them. So the dependency summary, version of Windows 10 is there in OneDrive. You can have that. The version of Windows 10 from the version integration 1709 brings us a little bit more. That means the synchronization data should also only on this device. Files on demand is the termination. That means you only have the file name. The content is still in the cloud, but you see it with the symbol of the cloud. And if you press a button, then it will be downloaded automatically. And Office, you have to look also for the right Office version. So I come in companies that mid-size have to say, hey, we have the old version, let's say 30,000 versions of Office. Old, whatever is old, then it means, hey, what shall I do? The newest version will automatically have this new stuff. The old versions will not update it because this was MSI function. Most of all these stuff we tell you are in different group policies. So if you want to do that, you should not say, hey, we want to disable all. There are some possibilities to disable OneDrive, personal, for example. You can have it with System Center, or you can have it with Intune and disable that. That's a long story. If group policies, we can talk another 1 hour. That means, hey, it's a long stuff. So, conclusion about that means all things together. You have a lot of things what you can do. To put all this stuff, you should always look at the OneDrive for Business. That's the MS Tech community thing. That means you can go there and look for that. What's new, what will happen, what are the new functions that will come up. So although they have an own podcast, Sync Up podcast, 30 to 45 minutes, each month we have a new version. Now we are on version 3. And they will tell you what's new is in there and so on. So you find here the newest version from all this stuff on this thing. On the other hand, you have the possibility to go to docs.microsoft.com. So that's information where all these things are in your language, not only in German or only in English. Your French language is also installed. You can see that, and you have all the complete description of all this stuff. So I write 2 blogs in German and in English. So I think it's now 870 articles about the stuff. And the last one is also to have where are new things will come. Yeah, you see personalized onboarding in OneDrive for Business, conditional access under Mac OS. So they're doing a lot of stuff, and you see also what will happen in December this year or in Q4. That means also to this year, and later on you see it will come later. Do not expect that it will absolutely come, because sometimes, and Vesa called it in the keynote also, you have to say you have to wait a little bit more. Sometimes I have a little bit more problems, so therefore you have to look for that. So I have also a possibility if you need consultant about OneDrive. It's not for a 20 user company, but you have more and look for that, and you want to do it in the right thing. It takes up to 6.5 hours, 220 flights. With all this stuff about that, you can scan that with your camera, and then you see what they have it as an issue here for this. That's Modern Workplace Pro, and you see all this stuff there. So I have to say thank you for your coming, and wish you, although till the end of the day, and although if you are going home or have to drive home or so on, no vacation cars on the street. Thank you so much.